Cubs fans, and welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. I'm your host tonight, Mr. Ron Luce has the night off. I am joined by the one, the only Mr. Nick Hudson. Nick, not a great baseball game tonight. Not the outcome that we hoped for. But how are you doing, buddy? I love the new digs, new apartment. I know
Thanks,
that
man.
that's probably a little bit older news, but I haven't been on a mic with you in a little while. So,
No,
how's
thanks,
all
man.
things? How's things going?
Yeah, things are going good. A lot better than the Cubs. But thanks, man. I appreciate that. Was looking to come home after some shopping and adult stuff and watch a good ball game, and it was just disgraceful. I mean, it was just really bad all around. So I'm disappointed, but I'm not shocked at all. I don't know about you, but I'm not shocked.
I'm not. The only positive of tonight's ball game is my T-shirt. Little brand awareness here, partnered with Homage, our newest partner. You can get this sweet MLB Jam T-shirt over at Homage. It's a pretty sweet little store. They got everything. But yeah, man, this one's sweet. I don't know if you like the old school video games, but the fact that like they took
Yeah,
the NBA Jam stuff and put it in Sandberg and Dawson, friggin'
that's
awesome.
sick.
I get compliments everywhere I wear it, so head over there and get yourself one. Yeah, not the outcome we wanted, considering the fact that the Cubs are almost in a playoff scenario without being in one. It's almost like a race to not the division, but to be like relevant within the deadline here. And the Cubs came out and they didn't play well, like at all. Just even to start the game behind the eight ball early because of some shaky defense. Marcus Stroman was pretty average tonight. I thought that the fielders behind him really didn't help him out too much. It made him throw a lot of extra pitches. And you can't give – I know the Cardinals are bad and they're not the best baseball team, but they're playing good baseball as of right now. And you can't give teams like that extra outs.
Yeah, not at all. And the Cubs have struggled with beating bad teams, and I think this is just an example of it. They looked asleep up there just to start the game, and there's, like you mentioned, bad defense right out of the gate. Stroman needs a good defense behind him. He's a guy that relies on contact and soft contact at that, and he needs you to make those plays. So right out of the gate, just a couple real shaky plays, and like you said, Stroman being average, it caused the offense to need to do more, and they did a nothing in return. They just chose to do the opposite of doing more. They chose the nothing route.
And he's been, since his blister issue, I feel like Marcus Stroman in a lot of ways has kind of struggled a little bit. He had that one nice start kind of sandwiched in where he went 6 innings. But other than that, he's been kind of up and down. And you know what? It's probably warranted. There's a lot of trade talk. There's a lot of where is it going to be. It's definitely difficult to pitch while your name's being thrown around on 10 different trade rumors. And he loves being in Wrigley so much that I feel bad. I don't know if you share this feeling, Nick, and I wanted to ask you this is, as somebody who watches this team as much as I do, we sit down and we watch these games every night. Do you feel bad for guys like Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman? Because it seems like they've both found this awesome place to play baseball that they enjoy going to.
Yeah.
And because of some roster construction that was out of their control, they're probably going to find themselves on different teams in a couple of weeks. And while they will have the opportunity to come back, it just seems like both of these guys would have been a slam dunk. We're bringing them back had the Cubs just played better baseball over a span of it's not even crazy. I'm talking about like 5 games here and there. If 5 different games go a different way, we're talking about this team in a totally different realm than we are right now.
Exactly, and a lot's gone wrong to get to the point that we're at. I mean, we discussed the other night, me and Ron. I mean, this isn't a bad team statistic on paper wise. There are a lot of good things, but it was a disaster tonight. And you mentioned the trade deadline, and I think this year especially, you can see it in the players. It is weighing on them, and for good reason. Like you said, Marcus Stroman and Cody Bellinger are two hell of teammates. Those are people that you would be like, yeah, that's who I want on my team if we're going to win. Like a guy like Cody Bellinger. So when you're up at the plate, when Nico's up at the plate, hell yeah, he's thinking about that. It's on him right now. And as I was saying the other night, every game it gets a little tighter and a little tighter, and it's getting closer and closer, and you're running out of time. And I feel like that's the story of my life with the Cubs. Whenever they need to play that good baseball, whenever they need that stretch, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was sitting in the group chat, and me and my other best friend, who we like to talk baseball and go back and forth, we were just talking about those two guys and how much they love to be here and how much we love them. And I think that is almost like it's almost an extra dagger when you have guys you could root for and that you like, and you already know that like the writing on the wall is almost there, that there's a good chance that they're playing some of their last games as Cubs. And that's a damn shame too, because it's little mental errors here and there. It's like Patrick Wisdom booting the ball early, and Christopher Morel, same way. It's those little plays that are the difference between a 1-2-3 inning and all the momentum is going into that dugout and they're ready to hit against Steven Matz, who, that's another thing, man. Like, Matz is not a good pitcher. He hasn't been all year. And this Cubs team continued to just put together just trash at bat after trash at bat tonight. And I think that I said it early on in the year that this team was a 78 team or win team, because I thought that there would be a select few that ruin it for the masses. And I hate to be right, but I was so right in my early season prediction that this team was going to have to need every single little thing to go right for them to win baseball games. And the problem with it is baseball is tough already. In the span of a game, there is going to be 5 or 6 moments that it doesn't go your way. And it's up to the talent to then come in and save it. Either the guy with first and third and one out strikes out, and then it's the guy behind him's job to drive him in. Or your pitcher's in a jam and it's on you to make the play at third to just get the one out so that there's 2 outs in an inning. It's those little things that the Cubs just seem to be the type of team that they have a lot of talent on that roster, but they don't have enough talent to overcome the fact that they make these mistakes. So they just have to have everything go so perfectly for them to win baseball games. And that's what's so frustrating, because we watch spans of innings in a row where they play so well, and then spans of innings when they play so bad. And you sit and you go, if you could just be average in those bad innings and be great in those innings that things are going good, man, this team, it's so damn frustrating where they could be.
Yeah, exactly where they could be. And like you mentioned, like everything, they are a team that everything must go right for them to win. There can't be little errors or anything, because it opens the door and then they can't make it up with the bats. A team like Atlanta, they could go put up 6 in an inning very quickly, and if they need to, they do it. And that's the difference. If the Cubs need to put up runs, forget it. That's why today I knew it was over. I mean, I think most people knew it was over. And a good rule of thumb in this series and for the rest of the way is don't let Contreras get up there in the first inning. Just don't let it happen. Don't even put yourself in that position early on in the game. Get the 3 outs before him. It's just like, this team is very frustrating. And the other night we were discussing, me and Ron, that it's confusing. It is confusing to be a Cubs fan because, like you said, there are so many times where if these things were to go right, we would be talking about this totally different, and we wouldn't be talking about Marcus Stroman and Cody Bellinger. We'd be talking about other guys coming onto this team to help us get to, a competitive place where we can make a run. But it's really disappointing because I really do have a lot more faith in this Cubs team than what they're giving me this year. So the underperforming, like you said, a few guys are ruining it for the bunch, and that's exactly what's happening. You would have needed every single cog in the machine to be going, and it didn't happen. So this is the result.
Yeah, it's you mentioned guys who are kind of letting this team down. I'm going to mention a guy who's not, and he had a nice game tonight. 2 triples, Mr. Yan Gomes behind the plate. He also added a single to that tonight. I'm going to be frank with you. I think that there's going to be a suitor for Yan Gomes this trade deadline. I really do. I think a veteran presence like that who's put together a pretty solid season is probably somebody who is going to be sought after. He's a good pitch framer. He's good defensively. It's it's a nice add, which will be probably like a mid to lower tier prospect for him, for a guy like that coming back. But I want your opinion on Jan. I definitely, going into this year, expected the Cubs to get next to no output from the catcher spot. All things considered, with the way Yan Gomes' seasons have gone, and obviously we see Tucker Barnhart's issues with the bat. But I want your Yan Gomes little man love right here, because I know that as somebody who didn't expect him to have a season like that or this that he's having, I'm pleasantly surprised, and it almost is another guy you can add into that Bellinger Stroman, where it's like I like rooting for him, and I enjoy listening to him talk about baseball, and he's going to be another one that I'm really going to hate to see go if they're going to let this guy go.
Yeah, I'll be in a lot of pain as well if we see Yan Gomes go. He's played so above average, and he's just that veteran presence to this team that I think is very underrated. And there are a lot of clutch moments out of Yan Gomes that people don't realize that are happening because you wouldn't expect it to be happening. And like you said, we didn't expect much from this catcher position output-wise with offense, and I knew Barnhart wouldn't be much. So for Yan Gomes to kind of step up and take control of that spot offense wise, it's been wonderful. And to have guys that can format a game and really call a game well and frame pitches, like you said, and just run a game is very refreshing as well, because that I find that's becoming more and more important at that position, is to have guys that are very intelligent baseball wise, baseball IQ very high. Like that's what you're going to need for a while.
Yeah, Jan just seems like that type of guy too that would be awesome to learn from. Like I watched Miguel Amaya, and I'm like, keeping a guy like that around is almost more valuable than the prospect you're going to get back because of Miguel Amaya. I think that for day in and day out, for him to learn from a guy like Yan Gomes, who has the career, right? He's won a World Series. He's been in big games. He's been on bad teams. He's been the backup catcher. He's been the starting catcher. He's had to be a leader in the clubhouse at one point. He's been a guy who's a lot per se. But I wonder, do the Cubs, do they value that more than they would value, some flash in the pan and see what we can get for him type of guy? But it just sucks because I had huge expectations for this series. After coming off the two out of three from the Nationals and 4 in a row here with the Cardinals, who they're playing better baseball, but you're at home, and the pitching rotation seemed to work more in your favor than it did theirs. And a stretch of games where if you could go out and win all 4 of them, I think there's a really slim chance that we would get to the deadline and see trading at that point, because then the White Sox are there. You're going to play the Cardinals again for another 4-game set, and then you're going to have to play the Reds after that. The problem is that like you have to take care of business against these teams, and you mentioned they just don't play well. They play down to their competition. It seems like when a good team comes into town, the Cubs are ready to play. When a team they should beat comes into town, they kind of put their head down, and it seems like they're not ready to go. And you know what? That's on the manager. That's on David Ross. That's 100% on David Ross to get these guys going in the dugout each and every night. And to sit here tonight and to watch what happened in that top of the first, and that's not David's fault by any means. But after that, and only giving up 1 run, to have no response after that was just showed, like, did they really want to be there? Did they really it was just so goddamn frustrating to sit and to watch, like, that team with that pitcher on the mound. I mean, the Cardinals dropped 2 fly balls in the outfield. They couldn't even find them. I mean, it was like
the doors were open.
Wide open. The whole series is wide open. And this division, this whole year, has been begging for somebody to just grab it. And the Cubs have a chance in this next couple runs of series. And I just feel like we're just going to get let down. I feel like we're going to get this sloppy play of baseball. We're going to have, we're going to split with the Cardinals here. We'll split with the White Sox, even though the White Sox are a terrible baseball team too. And then we'll just get our doors blown off the minute we have to go and play St. Louis in St. Louis. And that'll be all she wrote, right? At that point, it's who cares? So
that's definitely, that's the glass half empty version there. I mean, the glass half full would be that they take the next 3, but like you said, with the play tonight and against the guy on the mound there with that ERA, you not putting up any type of response, it does show that maybe they're asleep at the wheel, and that's a bad sign, especially coming off of what they just did. I mean, I would have rather seen a sweep of the Nationals. I think we all would have, but they were playing some good baseball, and I don't know what happened tonight. It's very disheartening because these are games that people are saying are, crucial. That's what the crucial game, and they are. These are absolutely crucial. St. Louis is playing a little bit better lately, and to like play into that, to let them have any type of, it's sad. It's real sad, man. But the doomsday scenario that you described, it's scary, but it's true. It's definitely something I could see happening with this team, which sucks.
Personal question, and your relationship with this team, because I'm a huge believer that each fan has their own special bond throughout every baseball season. And there is a moment throughout the season that your mind and the way you feel about them changes. Has this team changed for you? Has expectations moved to where you feel? Because my thought has always been, in terms of building a baseball team, if you're not going to be winning the World Series that year, you need to be doing everything you can to be building a team that's going to win one the year after. Yeah. I mean, I hate the proverbial 8-seed Bulls. I know that's a different, sport reference, but to be the last one in an NBA playoff is whipped cream on a turd. It really is. That's to put it, fairly. If the Cubs were to go on a crazy run and end up winning the division, whatever, I think all of us on this show understand they're probably lucky to win a series at that point, and probably are getting their doors blown off by any other division winner that is being put up there. Has your relationship changed in terms of, like, do you feel more comfortable if they sell opposed to if they add to this team. Because I'm starting to turn that way to where I think there's a distinct possibility that they can make the right trade, they can make the right signings this coming season. And I'm more optimistic in terms of what I've seen through this year than I am pessimistic, because I do think the Cubs proved a couple things. They proved that they can develop pitching because Justin Steele is an ace. And some of these guys who have come up to contribute have had really good spurts of baseball. They just need to put it all together because they're younger. And I'm talking about some of those guys that are down in the bullpen. They've proved that they could take a project player and turn his whole career around. So it's going to open up the idea of the fact that maybe there's that in the future. But my question then becomes, if being optimistic like I feel, do you feel like your relationship changed with the team and that maybe in the moment this is bad news for us, but down the line maybe this is better news?
I mean, it's very possible it could be that way. Especially, I agree with you. You don't want to just be sneaking in, especially with these teams that are the juggernauts. You'll just get blown, like you said, your doors blown off completely. And then what's the use in all of what you did at the deadline just to add these, players that barely got you over the hump, when you could be adding generational talent for years to come? I get what you're saying there. I think that ultimately, if we're making the right moves, like you said, if we're at this deadline selling, but also adding almost MLB ready talent at that time, yeah, I think that you can fix some holes with using some of your assets that you've gained over this time. I mean, it has been really refreshing to see that they could take a project player like Cody Bellinger and get him back into that form. I mean, that's huge. And that other guys will take note of that as well, that are struggling in their careers, that used to be monsters. But I mean, there are some great positives with this Cubs team, and there's some great positives for this future. I just think that, like you said, ultimately the best thing would be to soft sell, make sure that you bring in the things that you need. What are you going to address right now? That's the main thing, is the right now. And then I think that, yeah, I would feel a lot better about this team rather than adding, a bat and not getting anything back in return. It's just like, I don't want to see them just sneak into the playoffs, because there's no point there. You are winning. You're playing to win the World Series. That's what you're playing to do. So.
Yeah, I think Scott put it the best here in the comments. At this point, I just want them to clear path for some of these younger players to play more on the MLB roster the rest of the season. I get that. I think that there's – and that reminds me, going back to like watching those, marquee player highlights where, they had Hayden Wisniewski on early on in the season. And I remember him talking about how big it was for him to have that experience at the end of last year, to just get an idea of what the major leagues is like, to get an idea of what the feel is, what the overall, day-to-day grind, what is expected from you. I mean, imagine being called up to the majors and all in one quick swoop, you have to produce. You're in a new city, you're in a new environment, you have new people around you, you don't know anybody. 9 times out of 10, you're not in a place of family around you, or, maybe you have a few guys you played with, in the minors that are there. But think about it in terms of, what if the only guy on your roster that you played with was a pitcher and you were a position player? Those guys don't mingle as often as you think they do. They do, but not, there is a for sure, division between those two, because they do different things. They work out differently. Pitchers are creatures of habit, and they like to stay around their own kind too. There's a lot of that stuff. So I don't know. I do agree with that. I think that if they do sell, I hope it's at positions to where we can get guys like Matt Mervis more at bats, to where you can bring up guys like Nelson Velasquez and just say, "Hey, man, like, see what you can do. See if you can get into that DH spot. And maybe you find yourself a diamond in the rough type of player that can solve one of these problems in terms of power." And that's my hope, and I hope that that's yours too, Nick. I want your opinion too on like, and then we'll move on. We'll preview the next game here, but just to round out, I think this game for a lot of people could be taken as like the realized moment that maybe they are that close to selling, opposed to I think they're going to buy. I think they're going to win these 4 games and kind of propel themselves back into this thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right, and I'm starting to feel that way, that this game was a telltale sign that that's what they need to be doing is selling, and unfortunately that is the case. But like you said, power. We need to go get power. We need to figure, or like you said, let some guys come up and show you that they can take control of that. We need power at first. We need power at third. We need more power. And it's such a sad thing to see, because we knew going into this year that we were going to lack power, and we're pegging a lot of other guys to bring it, and they have not brought it. And now it looks even worse than what we had thought. So, that's another reason why we're where we are right now. But this game it just shows you, because I heard Jed earlier on 670, and he said a guy hitting a 3-run homer here and there, like, it's big, it's helpful. It is. You need that.
100%.
You need it. It's like it picks teams up. It's what it's hard. It's hard to watch, because they dangle the carrot like Nico's grand slam last night. They dangle that carrot.
It's like 2 straight days of like just offensive, explosion, followed by we're gonna put a couple of runs across. A couple of them that really didn't matter. Let's be completely honest here.
Right? Yeah.
The game was really never close. But yeah, Nick, any final thoughts from today's game? Any, just one thing you saw tonight that you went, oh, okay, maybe something good if you got anything. If not, we could just continue on the bad train too. Sometimes I don't mind that either.
Yeah, I mean, tonight we can definitely continue on the bad train, because this one hurts. Like you said, it basically shows that this team's going to go into sell mode, and that's another deadline where we're doing that. And I would have rather have just, like you said, had those couple of adjustments made, couple of things go our way, and be like 5 games different, and be having a totally different conversation about how can we make ourselves even more competitive. Because like we said, we beat good teams, so who's to say we wouldn't have been able to do something? But it's just not going to be our year. And I think we knew that coming into it, that it wouldn't be our year. But I thought this team would be a lot more competitive based on the power that we thought we were going to get, and bounce back years we thought we were going to have. And, it's tough, but I don't want to see Miles Mastrobuoni on this team, or Trey Mancini. I just don't. So there. Yeah.
If I see another Trey Mancini at bat, it'd be too soon. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But to move on, tomorrow's game, yet another Cardinal Cub matchup, one that the Cubs will probably look at as need to win for the next 3 here. It'll be Mr. Jack Flaherty versus our all-star, Mr. Justin Steele, coming off a rough one in his last one. Hopefully he can rebound from that. Nick, what do the Cubs got to do to change our attitude on this? Can they change our attitude on this? Do you think that there's a possibility that tomorrow one of us jumps on this post game and we go, oh, well, they're buying now? You can't believe, because that's what this seems like. It's like day to day, back and forth. Are they selling? Are they buying? Are they selling? Are they buying? And tomorrow just seems like it's going to be a buy day.
Well, that's what's been happening. Exactly. Like I said, dangle the carrot, or they'll make you actually believe that, oh, no, we're not going to be selling at all. I mean, that's how I felt coming into the series. I had said that if we can just take care of business here, no, there's no more talk about Stroman. And that made me happy because who the hell wants to see Stroman gone? No one. That we just don't want to be in that position to do that. But when you're in the position of, we're in a crappy division and we're in a bad place. So it's like decisions have to be made that are very tough. It's a business as well. So what they have to do tomorrow is go out and just have a good offensive day because I'm not going to be able to watch it. It's on Apple TV, which don't even get me started about that.
Ugh.
So, I mean, it's just, they need to go out there and just show up, honestly. Just show up with the bats. Don't even worry about, you gotta have a good offensive day.
Yeah, it'd
Put
be
the
nice to
errors
see.
and defense behind you, and the trade deadline's definitely weighing on them. So it's gonna be interesting to see as we get even closer to the deadline how it becomes. But I just want to see him go play baseball, like you said. Make the basic plays. It's very when we're doing it, it really works. It's the brand of baseball the Cubs have to play, and they can't always play it, so they're not always successful.
Yeah, hoping to see some crooked numbers up there tomorrow. I think that's the key to it. You got to make these Redbirds. You got to get them early and get them down because they've been down so often this season that they'll start to think that it's just there. Here it goes again. So hopefully tomorrow is one of those days. I think that kind of concludes everything here, Nick. Don't you think you got any final thoughts for us tonight? Any fun baseball things that you've seen across the league? Anything fun? You got one fun thing for me tonight, man? Just give me one fun thing.
Oh, I mean, Cody Bellinger's on fire. Let's just go with Cody Bellinger. I'm so happy we have him on our team. Like, let's just pretend we're just going to always have him on our team.
For another few days.
Yeah, basically.
Another few games. Enjoy those at-bats. Yes, I too love that Cody Bellinger's on our team. I'm going to give you something fun. South Bend Cubs were in town. They are in town this weekend. Fireworks night. It was Notre Dame night. I hate Notre Dame, but fireworks were really cool at the end of it. The South Bend Cubs did not win, but they had a sellout tonight, which doesn't happen all the time, but they ended up selling out that entire ballpark. And I could definitely tell because I had to park in the other lot tonight. Usually I'm in my front lot. I was so busy around my apartment this afternoon that I was definitely in right away to that other lot and walking across with all my stuff that I had in my hand post-work. But, I will be in attendance tomorrow for the South Bend Cubs game and probably for, the other two throughout the weekend because I am posted up here in South Bend for the weekend, hoping to take in some of the future Cubs and a little bit of some optimism so I can throw it towards the Cubs on Tap way because we need some good news, man. We really do. We need some good prospect news. But
rough.
As always, Cubs on Tap is powered by the OnTap Sports. Now, make sure you're heading over to www.ontapsports.net for all your sports and literature needs. Bulls, Bears, Hawks, MMA, you name it, we got it. And, of course, we have the Southsiders as well. Going to have a big crosstown series coming up. It's a couple days from now. I guess that'll be kind of cool, even though both teams suck. So that cup will end up being pretty irrelevant, as it usually is. But it's the bragging rights cup that nobody really gives a shit about. So, they'll play those games. So if you want to go over and go to the U.S. Cellular Field or whatever the fuck they call it anymore, go ahead and get some tickets over there, help fill their ballpark because they desperately need it. And while you're there, make sure you're sending over all of your guys to Sox on Tap because they do a great job with all of the post-game stuff and covering those sad sacks on the South just as well as we cover these sad sacks on the North. I got this awesome shirt. Make sure you're heading over to Homage to get that shirt, man. These things are nice and comfortable, and They're great to sleep in. They're great to go watch a game with your friends. You walk in, you got a shirt like this on at the barbecue, and everybody goes, "What the hell? Where'd you get that, man?" Definitely head over to the Boys at Homage and pick one of these up. They're freaking awesome, man. And MLB Jam, dude. Look,
Yeah,
you got Dawson and Sandberg, and you got all the little stats there. It's freaking sweet, man. It's a real conversation starter. If you're a single guy and wearing that, it's the girls will be, or whatever you're into, will be all over you, man. They'll be all over you. You'll be beaten away with a broomstick at that point. But head over to them. They do a great job with they got a bunch of other stuff too. Bunch of other stuff, not just Cubs stuff. They got a couple other teams and sports and some fun shirts, man. Go ahead and head over there and check them out. I think that concludes my whole little spiel here. I think we're good. Somebody will be on tomorrow. I don't know, maybe me, maybe Ron, maybe you at this point. But some sad sack will be here to talk about maybe a sad sack game. Hopefully it's not sad as it was tonight. But thank you all for joining. Thank you all for commenting. Nick, you're an all-star as always, man. I'm glad we could bring the extra sad sacking tonight. And this was one sad sacked Chicago Cubs on Tap episode. But we're going to end this episode the only way we know, even though we lost tonight. And that is what, Nick?
Fuck the Cardinals.
And let's go Cubs.